What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and today I'm back to talk about Warhammer 40k. So in a previous video, I got a comment from Brian PJ talking and asking about Warhammer 40k video games. So today I'm gonna go and answer his question and hopefully answer the question that many of you guys have about the game of 40k moving on to consoles and PC. So with that being said, let's dive right in. So Brian starts off by saying, man, they need to make a full Warhammer 40k tabletop video game, almost like virtual tabletop, but with all the 40k models, terrain, and using the rules found in the codices, where you can customize the terrain and units, for example, the paint colors, the emblems, their weapons, anything like that, and even kit bashing too. They can have dice-like number generating system rolls and various other number generating systems to help improve the gaming flow. Essentially, creating the full tabletop experience for people who don't have the privilege of fully delving into the hobby, while also giving tabletop community people some place to practice and or hone their skills where they can experiment and test out new schemes and builds for units without the cost penalties for kit bash failures. Then you can make sure any in-game units and character models are fully animated during all their respected phases and turns, and you can have another big hit. Like, they have all the pieces to this available. They could easily update it and go off the 40k Regicide game engine and have a lot of work already completed to make this great, amazing game. As awesome as this sounds, Brian, I don't think this will ever happen. First and foremost, there already is something like this that isn't licensed or sanctioned by GW. It's quite the contrary, and it is Tabletop Simulator. It's basically a way to play any tabletop game without having to buy the physical models themselves. Of course, GW would not like this because it takes away sales from the actual tabletop, physical, and whatnot. And it's a competitor. We know how stingy GW can be with their IP, and we've seen what they've done to fan animators on YouTube, so to me it's no surprise that we'll never see the light of day for a tabletop virtual game like this. It sounds amazing, because it fixes, like you were talking about, a lot of gripes that people have with playing 40k, and that is the vast amount of time, effort, and money to even start playing the game. When you hear about 40k, you get excited. The lore is so rich, the characters are so amazing, and you basically get to be a commander playing the army against another commander, your opponent, in an awesome, almost like headcanon-y type way. It's like, yeah, you do move your pieces and whatnot, and you attack and shoot, but like, all the action is in your head. With this video game, you can actually see it on your big screen, and like you were talking about with all the animations, actually see Mortarion take on Guilliman in a big fight. But again, GW does not want this to happen. They want you to buy a $60 codex. They want you to buy the $60 rulebook, the $60 troop choice, the $60 supplement. Like, if you just spend $60 one time to get this video game, look at all the revenue that GW isn't making. Yeah, you can say like more people would spend $60 once than a few people spending much more than that to play the actual tabletop, but GW probably doesn't think of it that way. If they're gonna spend time, effort, and money to create an asset or a video game of that caliber, of that level, and continue to add updates as the games progress to different editions, as we get FAQs, because like you're talking about, everything that the tabletop gets would be shown and transferred over to the video game, so that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and money, and if these are free updates, yeah, that is definitely not happening. Like, GW can make money off of a $60 game by doing microtransactions. So say you're playing Space Marines on here, and you want to play Blood Angels. Well, in order to change the color from blue to red, you have to pay. And I could see GW being petty and making little tiny microtransactions in their game to make more money. But at the same time, like, let's say you pay $5 to play Blood Angels. The amount of the paints that you would need to actually paint a unpainted army as Blood Angels is much more than $5. Sometimes that won't even get you a single pot of paint at a GW store. So you see the huge discrepancies there. Don't get me wrong, I would love to see something like this, because it's so much easier if you already have a console, if you already have a PC, to just pop in the disc or just download it from your home and start playing tabletop versions of 40k against your friends in a blink of an eye. But again, like, that would be a perfect scenario. I would truly love that. Like, just imagine all the content we can make. We can play against subscribers, play against other Warhammer 40k YouTubers and content creators and whatnot, instead of having to literally fly on over to, be it Canada or the UK or whatnot, cross country to play, physically with somebody. So the limitations are truly there, and GW is just too... They're a business, so of course they're going to be concerned about profits and money and whatnot. And like we've seen, lovers of the 40k tabletop have done things such as Battlescribe, tabletop simulators, Warhapedia, where you can basically try to look up and play the game for as little money as possible. But again, like, they are not sanctioned by GW, and it's just going to make things so much more difficult to be able to enjoy this game that we all love, but just has a very, very steep hill to climb to actually play the game. Because again, you need money to get a codex, you need money to get a rulebook, money to get the armies, you gotta get clippers to clip the armies, and glue to paint the armies, or put them together and paint to paint the armies, and you gotta find another player who has done all these things, and at the end of the day, it's probably like months before you're actually playing. And say you only have one friend that you can play against and they move or something, then you're just sitting on an army that you paid like $500 to play, and that you only got to play once or twice. Is it worth it? Probably not. And they're just gonna be sitting on a shelf collecting dust until you can find somebody else. And as big as Warhammer 40k got, it's not as widespread as one might think. Like, it could be very, very hard to find somebody else in an immediate area that you can play against or with. But who knows? Like I said, GW is getting more popular. We're starting to see Henry Cavill talk about it more. I was reading an article the other day that said Henry Cavill and Tom Holland actually played a game of 40k. So, like, celebrities are getting into it. It's just a matter of time till it blows up as big as D&D did in recent times. With like Stranger Things and whatnot, Critical Role. So hopefully it's not as hard to play 40k. Hopefully the prices go down instead of up. But I mean, the world is the way it is right now, with like shipping delays and it being hard to get codices and minis and whatnot on time. So all this could be alleviated with a 40k video game of the tabletop. But again, fingers crossed, but that's all we can do at this point. It's going to take a lot to make GW do something like that, because it'd be really amazing to have that. Just, I was really hyped reading your question, but just as hyped as I was, I knew it was just a miracle to make this happen. So let me know your thoughts, your ideas below. There are other Warhammer 40k video games that you can play that kind of get the ball rolling. I know the Dawn of War series have been pretty popular. Warhammer Space Marine game is pretty cool too. There's a bunch of phone games that are alright. But for the most part, like, to have a game of that level, or a AAA Warhammer 40k game, I feel like it's still quite a ways away, but they're getting closer. So with that being said, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. And of course, this has been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll be catching you guys in the next one. Peace.